Hi everyone, so welcome to Unwind and Design. My name is Kimberly and I'm your instructor for today. So starting off with what we have in front of us, we have an 11 by 14 size canvas. Next, we have our fan. If you have outlet nearby, you also have a hair dryer or a cardboard, anything that's going to help kind of get your process a little bit faster. We are going to be painting in layers, so you're going to have to make sure that the back layer is nice and dry before we move on to our next layer. Next, we have our brushes, starting with our large background brush, our round tip brush, our detail brush, and our square brush. I believe I already mentioned our 11 by 14 size canvas. And next, we are going to have our towel, our water, our brushes. We have our large background brush, our medium square brush, our round tip brush, and our detail brush. Okay, next, the colors we're going to be using are going to be our black, brown, green, yellow, blue, and white. Just as a reminder, you want to make sure that your paint is nice and smooth. You want to make sure that you can mix enough water in there to make it nice and soft. If your paint is too sticky, then it's going to also make for a sticky painting. Okay, we want our paint to be nice and smooth, nice and soft. So we're going to make sure we add a good amount of water on there to get it nice and blended. And we're going to be starting off first with our round tip brush. We're picking up a little bit of water and we're mixing it on the side of our white. Okay, I already started off by adding a little bit of light blue in there. What it is, it's a mixture of blue into your white. And what we're going to do is we're going to begin by outlining our background. We're going to outline where everything's going to kind of go so that then we can go in and add our darker colors and sort of take it from there. So we're going to start from the bottom, about maybe 3 fingers worth from the bottom to the top on the right hand side. And we're going to start to kind of create a hill up on this side. So halfway up the canvas, halfway across, we're going to start going up the canvas and we're going to start to curve it towards the left. We're going to keep it sort of even once we get up to this level. This is going to be about a hand's worth of space from the bottom up on the left hand side. There we go. Next, we're coming in with that same baby blue, and we're going to begin to outline where we're going to want our moon to be. We are going to want our moon to be fairly big, so it's going to be on the right-hand side, taking up a little bit of space of the left. And we are going to have part of our moon coming out of our canvas as well. So let's start off at the bottom. Okay, again, we do want our moon to be nice and big. If it doesn't look too round, remember we are going to go back in there with a little bit of white to straighten it up. Okay, so try to make it as round as you can. Again, we are going to be going in there with some lighter colors and some darker colors that are going to really help us straighten this out. So there we go. We have a giant moon there. Okay, so moving on from here, we are going to be using our large background brush. And we are going to start with a lighter blue. So we're coming in with our plain blue. I'm adding my water into that, adding just a little bit of white. I don't want it to be too bright. Hence why I'm adding the lighter color into the darker color. And we are going to start off at the edges going around our moon. We're creating an aura going around it, a little shadow section. Again, it's going to be that plain blue with just a little bit of white. Okay, and I'm pulling my brush sideways. I'm not using it wide ways. I'm coming in and I'm just using it long ways. Again, you can come in with a little bit of that light blue and just kind of play with the way that the color is looking back here. Come back with a little bit more of that light blue again. And we're starting to create again that aura we were talking about earlier. Okay, and as we go out, we want our lines and our blue to get a little bit darker and darker. Okay, I'm coming in with a little bit more of that plain blue. See how it's starting to get a little bit darker as I'm working my way towards my left. Okay, let's keep going. Next, we're going to start to add a little bit of black into this blue, making it just a little bit darker, trying to go for a more navy blue. And we're going to be increasing the amount of black that we add as we get farther and farther across. And that's going to give us a darker sky look. So it's going to be nice to add that darker black, that darker blue. It's going to give us more of a midnight look. Okay. You can also come in with just some of that lighter blue to create some lines there as well. Again, remember, we don't want it to be too light. We want it to be a little bit on the darker side. Okay, and we're going to start coming in around. In that blue with black, we want to make a nice smooth transition. We don't want it to look like it's two separate colors. We want to make it look like it's a light blue merging into a dark blue or vice versa. Okay, as we get farther to our end, to our left end, our color starts to get darker and darker. Eventually, we start to come in with a little bit more of that plain black. Okay, so we start to get to that black at the end. Getting back with a little bit more of that black. All right, guys, so moving on, we are going to be working on our grass section. Same thing, we're picking up our large background brush, picking up a little bit of water, and the colors we're going to be using for this are going to be green, green with black, green with brown, and green with yellow. So green, green with black, green with brown, and green with yellow. So I'm starting off first with my plain green. And we're just going to add all those varieties of colors as we're painting downwards. And we're going to be using our brush sideways. Okay, so we're bringing it in sideways like that, making sure to try to add all these varieties of colors here. We're going to add a little bit of black into that green to try to get a darker green. Again, I like to use the side of my paint. I don't like to go in and use all of it, just in case I want to use some later. Also, try to be careful with how much water you're adding to your canvas. It might really affect how the paint looks if it's a little bit too see-through. Okay, so I'm coming back in with a little bit more of that plain green. And I'm going to be playing with these colors back and forth. Again, it was green with a little bit of my black. See, I'm getting more of a dark green. I want it a little bit darker towards the top here. Then I'm going to come in with a little bit of green with the yellow. And I'm going to add maybe some highlights over here. You can even add a little bit of white to that yellow and get it even lighter. Okay, add a little bit of brown to green. And then we're starting to work with a more earth sand olive green color. So like I mentioned before, it was only going to be a few minutes just to make sure you guys finished up with the green. The next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be grabbing our square brush, I'm sorry, and we're going to be adding some water to our white. Okay, make sure that your white is nice and mixed up. We want to load that on our detail brush. And what we're going to do now is we are going to add some star splatters on our sky. So what we're going to do is we're going to aim it towards us and flip that way. So we're going to flip it towards the sky itself. So we're coming in and we're going to start just to put that around, and we're starting to get some stars now around. All right, so we have our sky filled with stars. And we're going to go in there and add some more detailed stars with our detail brush. If you want to add some stars that maybe have a little bit more of a glow on them, you can come in and do one with a glow. So let me show you what that looks like. We're going to do one in the bottom right hand corner here. It's going to be basically just a cross. And inside we're going to have a small X. And there you go. We have a sparkly star there. If you want to go ahead and add some more sparkly stars, some thicker ones with your detail brush, you could go ahead and do that. Not all of them have to be this big. You can make some smaller ones. You can make some larger ones, some smaller ones, some medium shaped ones. Not everything has to look exactly like that, but we're going to go in and with our detail brush begin to apply more of the bigger stars before we move on to our next step. Okay, and there we go. That's what our moon should look like. From here, we're going to add just a little bit of brown into our white, and we're going to add a little bit of black into our white too. So we're trying to make like a brown gray color. Okay, make sure you don't have too much paint on your brush. And little by little, we're going to actually brush it on the left-hand side. We're trying to get some of that color in there. Trying to get some of that brown on that side. Add a little bit of a shadow. Again, it was a drop of brown and some black so that we can get that look that we're trying to get here. We're going to add a little bit more towards the right as well. Okay, I'm sort of leaving like a little space in between here. I'm gonna come in and just lightly scratch that on that paint. Okay. Next, we're gonna add a little bit more brown, a little bit more black into that white. We're not gonna pick up any more water, and we're gonna start to create a little bit more of a line towards the left side of our moon. Here, we're gonna begin to actually just dab some of that gray, and we're gonna start to work it in towards my cloud. Okay, so I'm just kind of tapping it, creating this texture that you see here, all these colors. Okay, we're not trying to be too rough with them. We're trying to push the shadows towards the back of the white. We're just trying to kind of blend it in a sense also. So I'm starting to get rid of that blotchy spots, and I'm trying to make them a little bit lighter. We do want some spots to show through. We do want some of that dark color to show through a little bit, but not that much. We want most of it to be sort of blended into the background. Okay, I'm using all the paint that's left over on my brush. I'm not coming back for new paint. I'm kind of just staying with whatever paint is left over on my brush. And I'm not just tapping in the on the tips. I'm also tapping with the color that's still stuck in the back of the brush. Again, I'm barely tapping. I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just allowing that shadow to just kind of lightly be formed. I'm barely tapping my brush on that side of the moon. Coming with a little bit more of that shadow. I'm going to add a little bit more to this end as well. See how I'm starting to add all this texture here? I'm trying to get rid of this line. I don't want it to be so obvious. I want to make it look as if it's fading instead of being so rough at the edges there. I'm going to add a little bit more white to this, and I'm going to come in with a lighter gray and start tapping that around. Okay, so we're coming in with a little bit more of that white. Want it a little bit lighter. We can come in with our white and start to tap it in the bottom here and have the opposite effect of that shadow. Instead, we're adding some highlight with that white. You do want to come in with more of that white, and you want to tap that white wherever you want the highlight to be. And there we go. We added that texture to the moon. We're going to continue to use that round tip, that white, but this time we're going to use our round tip brush, picking up our white with that. Okay, and we're going to start to draw out our tree. So we're going to start off first with the trunk. We do have our trunk sort of right here in the center part, kind of coming off to the side. We are going to have part of this trunk going into the left, the bottom root section of it, we're going to have a long root just coming down. Okay, so it's a little bit thicker, closer to the trunk. And as it spreads out, it's a little bit thinner. Next, off to the side, it's going to be another thinner one, another thin root coming off towards the right. Next, we're going to continue to use our round tip. If you have a really large canvas, you can use your square brush or your background brush. Okay. Okay, and this one's just going to come off towards the left. Okay, corner left. And we're going to continue to fill this in with some white. There we go. So from our left side, if you want to come in with that round tip again, and we're going to start to work on our round tip and our detail brush to make our branches that we have here. So starting from this top section, we're coming in and we're creating one large branch. From here, we can have a thin one coming out, another one maybe on top here. From this top branch section, we have another one that's also sort of coming out there. So the next from the bottom, we are coming out right in the middle of our tree here. We're coming out across right in the middle. And we're going to start to merge from the bottom and in the middle start to increase it upwards. Okay, so we start to bring up our line towards the top. It's going to go up. And then from here, we're going to have just some lines kind of going over the top of our tree. So out of this branch, we have several other branches coming out. There's one. This branch is divided into two. Okay, so you are going to see me coming out and adding some branches. Once I'm done with my round tip, I'm going to go in there with my detail brush, and I'm going to add finer branches with my detail brush. Okay, so a lot thinner, a lot more brittle. Okay, from here, this one is turning into a Y that's little by little curving down, and then it's going to come back up. So this is going to be the branch that's going to be holding our lanterns. Again, I'm going to come in with some other branches, maybe another one off to the bottom. This one is going to be nice and small. Okay, come back in there with a little bit more of that white. Right here in the center, it splits off into another one. Okay, and you're going to see me go in there with a little bit more white and a little bit of my detail brush to make it more detailed than what it already is right now. Towards the left side of our canvas, we're gonna grab a little bit of this blue with a tiny drop of black add into it. And we're gonna start to scrape some shadow on the left side of our tree. So I'm just scraping it on. My white should still be a little bit wet, a little bit damp, which means that when we add this black, we're gonna create a better illusion of shadow. It's gonna get blended in and it's gonna make it look as if we have a lot of that shadow there. So I'm coming back in with a little bit of that dark blue. I'm putting it towards the bottom of my branch now. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the branch that's also at the edge, making it look as if we have some shadows going up. I'm gonna add some on the side of our tree. Again, we don't wanna add a lot. We just kind of wanna make it look as if some of this shadow is rising up. If you wanna go in there with a little bit more black, you can, so that it looks grayer. See, so we're having some of this color go in there and blend in. With our tree. Okay, so I'm gonna go back in with a little bit of white just in case my blue took over a little bit. So I'm coming in with my round tip, picking up a little bit more white. And I'm gonna bring out that color a little bit more as well. Okay, so if you do want some white just scratched on the wood. There we go. Now it's starting to look a little bit more natural. While we let this dry off, we're gonna come in with our detail brush. We're picking up our black, adding some water to it, making sure that it's nice and soft, Then we're gonna come in over the top of this branch. We're gonna add a little arch, and we're gonna do the same thing at the end. Okay, from here, from this arch, we're gonna be making a straight line down. And the one on the right is gonna be slightly lower. Okay, so it's gonna be a little bit longer. From here, we're gonna paint little circles on the top. Okay, we're gonna do a little circle on top. And from there, we're gonna attach a wide triangle. See that? So this is the top of our lantern, and it's a very wide triangle. We're gonna make a line right in the middle towards the bottom, and we're gonna do the same thing underneath, right in the middle. Okay, we don't wanna make it too big. And from the sides here, we're gonna bring in our lines. Okay, you don't wanna go all the way to the end. You do wanna leave some of this triangle still exposed on the sides. And right from underneath, we're just gonna kind of make it a little bit wiggly. See that? And we're filling those little waves in. Same thing, I'm coming in, I'm making it wavy. And then I'm coming in towards the end and I'm filling that in. Right. So right from the middle, we're going to have a line with a circle at the end. And we're going to add several circles a long little line. And we have a bunch of little circles at the bottom here. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so again, we're doing a little line coming down. We're doing a circle right here, some circles on top. 1, 2, 3 circles on the bottom. Another circle here. And then right at the bottom, we're doing sort of like a little flower bow thing. So from here, meanwhile we wait for this area to dry, we're coming in with a little bit of white and yellow, a little bit more white. And we're trying to make a very creamy yellow. And we're gonna come around and we're just gonna dab it on our sides. Try to make it look as if our lanterns are lighting up this space. Okay, so we're adding a little bit of that white and yellow. You can even add a little bit of a yellow line on some of these branches on the lower half that are going to be getting some of that light. Again, a little bit of yellow and white, and let's keep adding that shadow around our lantern. Okay. Next, with that yellow and white, now that your lantern is a little bit more filled out, we're going to go into these little gaps in between where we have some glass. And we're going to be filling those in with yellow and white. If you need to go over it with some black after, that's completely fine. There's no problem with going in there with a little bit more black, just to pre-outline it all over again. Okay, so I'm straightening out this line. Now that I painted it yellow. Same thing here. If you want to go in with a little bit of white and yellow and add a highlight, this has way too much water. Let me get the water out. And that's why it's important to watch how much water you're adding to your paint and to make sure that it is nice and smooth. There you go. I'm adding a little bit of the highlight on sides of my lantern. Adding some highlight on the rope. I'm adding a little bit of highlight on the bottom designs. And there we go. Okay, so moving on from our lanterns, we are going to be coming down to the bottom of our grass section, and we're going to be using our detail brush. The colors we're going to be using are going to be a dark green, a plain green, and then green with yellow and white. Okay, so starting off first with our dark green, I'm mixing in a little bit of water into my green, mixing in a little bit of black, making sure that I get it nice and dark. Then I'm coming in, and from the bottom side here, I'm just going to be creating some wisps of grass into the side of the tree. Okay, go curve it towards the right, curve it a little bit towards the left. Okay, and we're going to also do it behind the tree as well, heading into the sky a little bit back here. You can also add some right here in the middle. Okay, from here, it's going to be some of that plain green so that we can see a little hint of it still. And then we're going to be using a green with yellow and a green with yellow and white. So I'm coming in with my green with yellow. Okay. And when you're done with this grass, all we have left to do, oh, I actually went in here with a little bit of white. So let me go ahead and fix that first so we can finish up. So I'm just lifting it with a little bit of water. You can't really tell that there was even a mark there. So I'm going to come in with my baby blue, a little bit of white, a little bit of blue, just so that it stands out a little bit more. And on the right hand corner, I'm just going to come in and do my signature. And after this, you guys are done.